welcome to the session, one of the parallel sessions, which is on automated public services. Welcome to those who are joining on site and also to the ones joining online. We have a full session today, and I hope we will find more and more elements of the interactions between artificial intelligence and interoperability. As we have seen also in the keynote talk and also in the discourses, opening speeches, and also the high-level panel. One of the very important areas where artificial intelligence and interoperability are really interlinked are in the creation of automated public services. So the aim of this session is to outline some current approaches, but also some planned approaches on how to build these automated public services, both using AI or other technologies, but also building upon existing technologies with AI. And in this context, talking about all the opportunities and also all the potential challenges that may arise when doing this. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our first speaker, who is Barbara Ubaldi. She is from OECD, and she will talk to us about an agenda for AI in the public sector. And Barbara Ubaldi, she is the head of unit and deputy head of division at OECD Public Services. Thank you, Barbara, for joining us. And I welcome you on stage. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I suppose the presentation will go up in a second. In the meanwhile, as I know that we don't have much time, each of us, to speak, just to put on the table a little disclaimer, which is that the work that we are doing on AI focuses very much on AI for the public sector. And that's part of our broader agenda on digital government, because we do acknowledge that governments are identifying the potential to use AI as a way to become more digitally mature. The work on AI, so I keep talking as the slides go up. The work on AI for the public sector at the OECD is not new. We started at the request of the member countries around 2017 to start codifying a little bit the understanding of what does it mean for the public sector to use AI to be more digitally mature. And that work with a bottom-up approach, starting with understanding the key benefits expected by governments and the key challenges, has clearly gained a big momentum at the beginning of 2023 for reasons that in the introductory session were underlined in a very clear way. So what do we think it's important to keep in mind if we focus on not only AI as a key enabler of automated services, but more broadly as AI as a tool for governments to be more responsive, reliable, and accountable? First of all, we need to remember that governments, when it comes to AI, are not only regulators. There's so much discussion around what kind of laws, what kind of regulations, what kind of role should the government take in regulating development and use of AI. Where we think it's extremely important to understand the whole matter, to look at governments also as developers and as users of AI. Developers in cases in which the government decides, rather than purchasing systems produced outside, to produce its own systems, but also users of AI to conduct a number of tasks which are part of the job of governments, engaging citizens, designing services, designing policies, but also tracking, for example, how expenditures are made in government, but also utilizing AI to support core government functions like procurement, for example, or budgeting. So when we look at the questions that governments put on the table and our member countries asked us to help them with, which very much resonates with the work that the Commission is doing and the report that was mentioned this morning that was just released, we started looking at use cases. And what we saw is that, first of all, there are specific tasks that governments focus on when they think about applying AI. So the idea is, can AI help governments do better recognition, event detection, forecasting, personalization, or providing support as they interact with users of services? Second, governments are really trying to use AI, first of all, for internal procedures, automating, for example, tasks to free up time of civil servants, but they're also trying to increase the use of AI to design policies which are more responsive to needs of the users. And in the same philosophy, they are trying to use AI to improve how they are providing services. And last but not least, there's a fourth category that as part of our taxonomy we see growing, which is the use of AI to improve external and internal control. So in that sense, the impacts the governments are expecting to achieve are in terms of responsiveness, in terms of reliability and productivity. For example, can they be more efficient or effective in how they deliver services? And last but not least, to increase accountability. So these are all categories that we've identified as looking at use cases and trying to understand why is the government using and deploying AI and what are the impacts that they are hoping to achieve. And a number of issues were identified in our work in terms of challenges the governments are encountering when trying to increase the use of AI for delivering the impact that I mentioned. First of all, the idea of political support. We know that AI is very trendy. We know that ministries have been created to guide the use of AI, but then the key point is how can we go from experiences that boost innovation to initiatives that become part of the current and regular and sustainable way of working of government. So how can the public sector secure the political support to make sure that we go from AI being something trendy to AI being something that can become a permanent tool? And in that sense, a key challenge is, again, to scale up. Many initiatives are very trendy examples that don't have a long life, and they don't go beyond the experimentation stage. There's a key issue also with the idea of dealing with specific risks. So the use of AI within the public sector, it's different from the use of AI in the broader economy when it comes to the specific challenges in terms of accountability and transparency that the public expects, in terms of data privacy and security, in terms of respecting digital rights, which was mentioned already in the morning. So the point for the government is very much also around understanding the specific challenges that are unique to their context. And last but not least, the point is around monitoring the impact. So there's a lot that is happening in terms of application, but still many challenges when it comes to monitoring the impact and the results. When it comes to the automation of the services, challenges are around, for example, all the worries that exist also among civil servants on job losses. There's a need to understand, for example, what are the skills that need to be brought on board and what is the need to reskill staff. There's a need of putting users at the center. So automation for the sake of automating, just for efficiency, for example, will not meet the main objective of delivering better results. And there's also the need to understand that transparency as services are automated is expected from the public, because in many cases it's not clear not only the type of algorithm being used, the type of data being used, and there's therefore a lot of criticism around end results not creating new forms of exclusion. So the idea is that governments are taking a number of actions to address these challenges. First of all, they're really trying to have coherent approaches. So the adoption of strategies that deal with AI broadly, but specifically with the public sector, is a key action the governments are trying to take. Governments are also trying to set up governance mechanisms, like Spain just mentioned, that have the purpose to address some of the challenges that I mentioned. Governments are trying to set systems to monitor the impact, but also they are trying to understand how to connect different agendas. Because in many cases, as AI is being used to improve services, for example, that's not connected with the public services agenda and that's not connected with the skills agenda. So governments are really trying to address a number of challenges, and the work, and here I conclude in the interest of time, that at the OECD we are trying to do is really to put forward a policy framework that should help governments take what you see on the green part of the pie, which are what we call enablers, which are actually at the moment seen more as constraints by governments in terms of governance, in terms of capabilities, for example, and in terms of, in terms of skills. How can they be addressed as constraints to become enablers? What kind of levels do they impact? Because we know that there's much happening inside of government, across the administration, but also with the broad ecosystem, the private sector, for example, and across borders, like we heard a lot today. But what kind of guardrails can the government also put in place to make sure that some of the challenges I mentioned in terms, for example, of transparency can be protected? So the idea is to have a comprehensive way of looking at the different challenges and see how to transform them into enablers. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Barbara. In the interest of time, we will first have all the presentations, and afterwards maybe we will have a short Q&A session. I would like to invite our second speaker, who is Frank Noel, who is the Director for Data Information and Knowledge Management Services at the Publications Office of the European Union. Frank has close to 30 years of experience in information technology, and he will talk to us about AI alchemy, the perfect recipe for automated public services. Thank you, Frank.
Buenos días a todas y todos. So, dear colleagues, I know we just had a coffee break, at least for those on site, but I'm hungry. So I will start with one question. Who is interested in gastronomy here? Well, I see quite a few. Let me share a secret with you. I'm also very interested in gastronomy, and I love eating good food. So this is one of the reasons why I'm so happy to be here today in Madrid to enjoy the splendid Spanish gastronomy, and I would like to start by thanking the organizers for having invited me today. Now, of course, I'm not interested in food only. Delivering value-added public services for the Publications Office of the European Union constituencies is what drives me every day. Well, for those who don't know, in a nutshell, at the Publications Office, our job consists in making European law and European publications publicly accessible. So, to do that, well, maybe you know EURLEX, I guess. This is one of the things we are operating. Well, to do that, we are embracing artificial intelligence and interoperability topics, both in our back office and front office, just like a good restaurant is striving for excellence in the back of the house and front of the house. So, let me guide you to the back of our own house. Maybe. Probably, yes. Okay, so to prepare a good menu, what do you need? You need both great ingredients and also a good recipe. How does it transpose to our own business? Well, our ultimate goal is not only to make our information and data accessible to the public. We want that to be actually accessed by the intended audience. There, it's pretty obvious. The access mechanisms are of crucial importance, and we are still very much based on search engines and search mechanisms. Okay, so to have this happening, what we need is to have high-quality metadata. Well, in fact, yesterday I heard we should stop calling that metadata. We should call that discovery fields, as Professor Coulpart said yesterday. Anyway, we need to have these top-quality ingredients, our caviar, in a way. We also need to make sure that those discovery fields or metadata are applied in a consistent manner, also according to standards to guarantee interoperability. And this is one link between AI and interoperability. Why? Traditionally, it's done by humans, by what we call catalogers at the Publications Office. But today, our catalogers are in fact using an AI-based system based on a semantic text analyzer that Véronica Gaffé mentioned in her opening address, SETA, in order to, well, and this system proposes and suggests these metadata, the most appropriate ones, and also using widely known reference data assets. Yesterday was mentioned Eurovoc. What does this enable us to do? This enables two things. First, consistency in the application of these discovery fields across our document collection, and this is also boosting the productivity of our cataloging team. Now, whatever the chef cooks in the kitchen, It will satisfy the clients if and only if it's properly served in the restaurant room, right? So beyond the traditional search systems that I was mentioning before, the Publications Office has also invested in chatbot technologies. So to provide a natural language interface in both oral and written form. This increases the accessibility of our services, for instance, for people who are visually impaired, but what we observed is that it is providing a much more intuitive access to our information for just everybody. And this is, by the way, one of the things I see changing with the advent of generative AI. It's not so much about the information itself, but it's more the way we access to information which is really changing. But we all know that AI is not entirely risk-free, especially, as Barbara was saying, for public services. Risk is, by the way, one of the central concepts of the AI Act, right? So this is the reason why, again, as a public service provider, we need to be very clear about how we use AI and what our stakeholders can expect from our services. Because what we want is to deliver trustworthy data, trustworthy information, and at the end, trustworthy services. Otherwise, what we will serve is just like magic potion. Nobody knows what's inside, and therefore the result is it may be trusted or it may not be trusted. So that's why, again, referring to the chatbot I was talking about, we also published with the chatbot an explainability notice. And this explainability notice describes which technology is used, which data is processed, and maybe even more importantly, what is the legal context surrounding the use of the chatbot. And I can't resist, because we heard this morning our Estonian colleague talking about interoperability between chatbots. That's the next project we have, is to see how this chatbot could interoperate with other chatbots in member states and also commercial ones. So for those interested, I'm inviting you to go to the exhibition booth. My colleague will be delighted to give you all the necessary details. Now, what you want when you run a restaurant is to get the famous 3 stars. So to guarantee the quality and to check what's the actual quality which is served, you have inspectors going on the spot to monitor the quality. By the way, what a dream job. Who would like to do that? Yeah, I see a number of people. Okay, I have very good news for you, because this is we have to do exactly the same. We have to monitor closely our services, in particular our AI-based services, and see how and to which extent they are actually responding to our intended users, to do 2 things. First of all, to retrofit what we observe in order to fine-tune the underlying models, and also to make sure that we don't see unintended results with the services we deliver. So human supervision is, I think, still very much needed there. And this is, I guess, one of our big challenges for the months to come, is to find the right balance between these technologies on the market and the human supervision we want to put in place. With this, I am thanking you for your attention, and of course, I already wish you bon appétit.
Thank you very much, Frank. And I think after Barbara's talk and your talk, I think little by little we are finding the ingredients to building trustworthy, reliable public services, interoperable. And so going on this journey further, I would like to invite Miguel Aradas from the General Secretariat for Digital Administration in Spain. He's the area manager for intelligent automation. I think he will also describe similar elements for building good automated public services. Thank you.
Thanks. Good morning, everyone, and Thank you for your time here, and thank you for inviting me. And I'm coming to this conference from the side of the automation part of the automation services. I'm responsible for the Intelligent Automation Service here in the Secretariat General for the Digital Administration. And what is this service? Well, it started at measure number 5 in the Public Administration Digitalization Plan for the years 2021 to 25. And long story short, we have two services that we provide to the general administration on top of two distinct technologies. First of all is the robotic process automation, RPI or robots. And the second one is the intelligent business process management system. You can forget for now about the second one because I'm going to focus on the first one. So if you don't know what RPA, the robots are, it's basically like having a big digital workforce. It's like having a lot of well-intended and very dedicated but very dumb humans trying to do certain tasks that otherwise will take a lot of time and they are very repetitive, they are very prone to human error, etc. And they interact with existing applications. We provide that to the general administration through our centralized services, and we try to provide automated process as a service and not try to provide the technology per se. So in this playing field is where we try to sprinkle a little bit of artificial intelligence, and we try to apply it in order to enhance both services. What do I mean by that? Because the RPA technology is a very simple technology, but it has one characteristic that it combines very well with those kinds of technologies. If you have a robot and you combine it with certain types of AI, you can have a robot that can read, a robot that can assist a user, a citizen in achieving certain goals, or helping with a robot that can make decisions by itself or with help with another human. And in that paradigm, you can see that this is a little map of all the different kinds of technologies that we talk about when we refer as AI. And I put this in place in order to try to explain specifically which kind of technology we can use or we see using with the robots. So first of all, if you apply computer vision and optical character recognition, and natural language processing with a robot, you can achieve the goal of having a robot that can read a document that is not necessarily readable by a machine. So we use this mainly to try to read images or PDFs and try to extract information from those documents or even classify those documents based on the content of the document itself. This one is on the verge of exiting the experimentation phase that Barbara mentioned, but it's still a little not a reality per se and is not scalable right now. The second one is not an opportunity that we are tackling right now. It's more like a vector of growth. Is trying to achieve the robot that can make decisions. For that, we would need any kind of decision support for that robot in order to help the human help the robot make the decision, and also we would have to train a machine learning system. Those are the opportunities, but what are the challenges of trying to apply artificial intelligence with robots? Well, if you know anything about this technology, you know there are a lot of challenges, but I'm going to talk about 3 that are very specific to our service. First of all, we are limiting ourselves because we try to use AI only to enhance the capabilities of the robots. So we are not trying to apply or extract the value of AI by itself. We are only interested in trying to see how AI can help our robots. And that limits a lot our focus and our use cases. And another factor that limits it further is that we have, as I said, a centralized service, and we don't know the use cases in advance. So instead of trying to apply the right tool to the right problem, we are in a situation where we see every problem as a nail because all we have is a hammer. So the third challenge is not a technological challenge, but a cultural one. And it's You know that when you combine the idea of robots and AI, people have very wild ideas of what that can become, and we have heard it all. And some of these ideas are very far-fetched and are not very reasonable, but others are quite reasonable and are valid points about the loss of jobs, for example. And I think that we and policymakers have to balance and to help give this cultural change in order to make people understand that they are going to work alongside and with the robots and not against them. And with that, I wrap it up. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Miguel. And I think we have different perspectives on different types of AIs that can support automated public services, including robots. And actually, I remember a few years ago when I was working on emotion detection, that apparently when robots are designed with humanoid characteristics, people feel even more empathy towards the robots than towards human beings, which is something really incredible. And I think later on in the session we will hear more about a robot that is supporting governmental advice giving. And I think probably it will be a nice conversation to have to develop this further. Thank you very much. And now moving on to our next speaker, who is Serhiy Orlov. He is from the Ministry of Justice of Ukraine. He is the Chief Digital Transformation Officer and the Deputy Minister, who has led the digitalization of over 30 justice systems over the past 3 years. That's really impressive, and I can't wait for you to share how you've achieved that. Thank you.
Hi everyone, and thank you very much for this opportunity to speak about Ukrainian achievements and some humble steps in the field of AI we do for the last couple of years. So basically, I want to ask a very provocative question. Do we actually need AI to provide an fully automatic services within the government? And the example of Ukraine says, no, we have to trust more reliable systems at the first glance, and then only move forwards to adopt an AI. So basically, the main topic is people as public services. I want to start with the small history about all the modern history of GovTech in Ukraine. It started in 2019 when the President Zelensky came and set out the course for the state in a smartphone. And basically, our aim is to build the most convenient government in the world, invisible yet transparent. And to achieve this goal, Ministry of Digital Transformation has developed the one-stop shop ecosystem. It's a top-notch solution which contains of two different parts. It's a DIA web application, which now has 19.5 million users, 27 services, and 14 digital documents, including electronic passports, electronic tax ID, electronic birth certificate, etc. And the second part is web portal DIA with 4 million plus accounts and more than 100 different digital services. In Ukraine, when we adopt new services, we come with a digital by default approach. So basically, we have a competition between different ministers to roll over another automatic service. And the first type of the services is the basic paperless services when we use the interoperability of the system, and we do not ask our citizens for any additional documents to provide if government already knows the information about them. And the second type is peopleless. It's a fully automatic services with no human involved in making a decision. And today I want to just give a small story about some of them in the Ministry of Justice. So for the last 3 years, we've adopted 3 different fully automatic services in the field of business registration. It's the registration of LLC, limited liability company, the registration of a private entrepreneur, which is basically the analog of a self-employed person, which is very popular among micro and small enterprises in Ukraine, and the cancellation of the private entrepreneur. So basically, the idea is to automate all the processes done in the past by the state register in order to check all the information in different state registers, in the demographic register, in a business register, in a tax register, etc. To give you some just examples, for now the application of the citizen takes only for 13 minutes to like fill in the application form, and the fastest registration is been done in 9.9 seconds. So basically, after filing the application, the record in the business register is done and give feedback. It's not the AI, but we understand that we need to move forward. Now, 7 out of 10 private entrepreneurs in Ukraine who register use this actually service. To give you some example of optimization, like we've already registered 420K private entrepreneurs, and we've eventually saved like 73 man-years of state registers, which is not only the savings of the budget costs, but also it has a high anti-corruption effect, because corruption appears in the place where human is involved. But we're not only moving towards within automatic services, we're also moving towards with the AI. Most of our projects are still in a discovery stage, except of those which are connected with a military tech. I'm not supposed to talk about it like in details, but for now on the battlefield, lots of AI technologies are used. And also we have used the AI to recognize the faces of war criminals, to identify them on different cameras in the Belarus, in Russia, and so on and so forth. But speaking about the services of the Ministry of Justice, we're looking into, it's not like the full list, but like the most important for us. So basically the first one is validity pre-check of submitted documents. Today it was already a speech about the interconnection between how a machine can read a document. Basically we are facing the issue when we're still having lots of data on a paper-based document issued like in 60s and 70s, and we need something to have a validity pre-check in order to detect a potential fraud within these documents. Second one is LLM in the service of drafting legal documents. It's like a buzz phrase, I don't know, nowadays, and it is highly discussed in this conference. I won't like make a deep dive there. The third one is AI legal assistant for citizens. Under the Ministry of Justice, we are having a big entity called the Coordination Center for Free Legal Aid. It is basically consists of different lawyers who give consultations in free legal aid, and then they run a huge portal on a wiki engine which contains different articles in a human-centric language, not in a law-centric language, so basically they're easy to read on a different life situations, how to interact with the government. We plan to use this data in order to teach our own LLM to provide an AI chatbot as a help to support these processes. The fourth one is prognostic justice in assessing risk of reoffending. Within the Ministry of Justice, we're having a special system called the Register of Convicts. There is subsystems named Cassandra, which helps to make a risk and needs assessment for a potential convicts. For the last 3 years, I suppose, every judge gets a report on a potential risk of this or that person who he is facing. For now, it's just a linear query, a linear model, which is based on fully on the methodology, but for now we've already assessed the level of recidivism, and for now we're starting with our new unit of data scientists to teach this thing to self-learn and recount the level of scores in it. It's only in the very early stages, but we're supposed to finish this project. And the last but not the least, the legal professions exam questions preparation, which takes lots of time from the employees of Ministry of Justice in order to prepare for them each year. And another category which is not here but which we are actively working on is the validation of evidence of as I mentioned, war crimes and the violations of human rights. Because basically in the Ukraine, we've launched a bunch of different services under the Ministry of Justice, under the General Prosecutor's Office, under the Ministry of Internal Affairs, which collect different evidences from citizens and from other people. And basically, we need a system which can validate those evidences as a media files, make interconnections between them, and gather like a whole new bunch of data which is reliable. I have a last slide about challenges. It's like nothing new under the moon. I think that most of you who have tried something in the field of AI already knows all of them. I want to stop just on two of them, as we assume as the most important. The first one is AI as assistant, but not a deputy. So basically, we understand that we can automate the services only in case if we can provide 100% accuracy. And the AI is not the case for now, unfortunately, but it might change in some days. And the second one is explainability, the problem of black box. We have to be transparent. And if we put AI in some system which makes a decision, we need to make sure that everyone understands how the decision has been done. In this, I'm thanking you for attention. Have a nice day.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Sergei. And also apologies for the side of the room that cannot see so much of me. I will try to run around. Actually, that's great news for the SEMIC conference, and I will share with you a secret that actually only half of the room had been foreseen, and we had to add the second half of the room, and that's why we actually have this issue. So this issue is actually the silver lining of having a lot of people joining us on site at SEMIC. So thank you again, and apologies if you can't see me all the time, but I will try to go back and forth. I think it's really impressive to see the applications of AI, and of course we think about automated public services in the context of making different types of paperwork faster, but of course when it comes to war, I think there really are no words or no ways to express how probably important that can be. So thank you for sharing that with us. And now, without further ado, I would like to invite our next speaker, who is Álvaro Tapias Sancho. He is the Deputy Director General for IT in the Madrid City Taxation Agency, and he will be talking to us about automated public services in the context of the Madrid City Taxation Agency. Thank you, Álvaro.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Barbara, and thank you for having me on this panel. It's a pleasure to me to be here. Well, first of all, I would like to just give some context of Madrid. Madrid is the third or second, it depends on the source, largest city in Europe. We are more than 3.3 million people living here, and more than 5 million people as a floating population. We are more than 30,000 employees working in Madrid government. Is written 9, but right now it's just 7. There are just 7 government areas. I mean, we are a very, very big organization, and in terms of tax, that is my field, we are collecting more than 2.6 billion euros in taxes. So, related to taxes, well, we are developing a new strategy in Madrid Tax Agency that we call Smart Taxes. Everyone knows about smart cities and the concept of smart cities, and we are trying to apply this concept to taxes. We are using technology and data to provide better services, and in words of our mayor, to make it easier for those who want to contribute and more difficult for those who don't. And how are we doing that? Well, first of all, I have to say that in Spain, I think it's something very common in every country, but European policies and innovation are applied at the first level in central governments, and after that, this innovation, those policies are spreading for all other administration, regions and local administration cities. And well, we are a newborn in this kind of fields, and we have been working on that just for a few years. But to achieve these goals, we have created what we call Madrid Tax Lab. It's a new service, a new department that provides service of data and technology to all all Madrid City Council. This is a new department, but the key for that is the collaboration. We are putting together policymakers, decisions, and technicians working together in just one organization to make it possible. And we are working in 4 kinds of projects. Forecasting, it's very important for a city to know what is going to happen and to prevent it. And it is a key for establishing public policies. We are also making systems to detect and prevent fraud. And for the first time in local governments, we are taking automated decisions about that, which is very, very important. We are also working in what citizens and Court of Justice are demanding, more accurate taxation models, because in cities taxation models are very general and we have to make it more accurate. Citizens obviously want to pay for what they should and not more. And we are making new models based on data and artificial intelligence. And after all, we are working also in automated service for public services for citizens. And what is maybe more is new here is that we are trying to make in local governments for the first time to end-to-end services. I mean, we are making automated decisions also to make automated acts for citizens. And obviously, as Frank said, the main ingredient of that is data. And as has been said before in the main room, data matters, is our main resource, and we have to care about it. For that, we have many problems to access to different kind of information. Tax regulation allows us to access information, but we are trying to gather all the information about a citizen in just single point in a human-centric vision. We are using information about land registries, taxes, obviously, notaries, private information for private sector, and go on. And for that, we have created Madrid Data Lake. It's a set of infrastructures and protocols to share information as a public infrastructure to connect to other administrations and between the government areas inside Madrid City Council. And related to challenges, I'm sure that you know everything about that. I just want to highlight 2 of them. Accuracy of data, it's a problem. It has been said before. We are trying to make services that consume different kinds of information with different levels of accuracy of updating, and it is a problem. We are trying to make agreements to access data from other organizations in which the quality of data is something like a level service agreement. And we have to, I think it's also a matter of culture and a high level decision level. I mean, there are problems in the quality at the first part of the processing of data, and has to be resolved. And also, I want to highlight another problem for us is transparency. We are making automated decisions, and we are very concerned about how citizens and how courts of justice are going to react to these automated decisions, because in my opinion, when we talk about artificial intelligence and data, there is a kind of a negative sense of talking about that. We talk about robots. Miguel is helping for that are going to take our jobs, are going to take our private information, and they're going to rule the world. So this negative sense of artificial intelligence is spreading. We are concerned about how courts or citizens are going to react about our new models, the models that we are proposing, and they are based on artificial intelligence and data that they don't know anything about. So I think it's a problem to solve. And well, the future for us is to keep going on that way. As I said, we are kind of newborn in this sector, but we want to use technology not for using technology. I think that technology has to be hired to provide better services and make Madrid more easier city to live. Thank you very much.
Very much, Alvaro. And indeed, we see that when we start applying this to a smaller or larger scale, we can already see many of the challenges, but also many of the opportunities that that can be achieved through applying AI and interoperability together. In that line of thought, I would like to invite our next speaker, who is Mihaela Becheru. She is from Humans AI, and Humans AI is the company that has created the governmental advisor EON, which you will be able to see in the exhibition area upstairs during lunch. Mihaela is an experienced technology startup advisor, and she is currently serving as the head of public affairs at the artificial intelligence company Humans AI. Thank you, Mihaela.
Thank you, Alexandra. It's great to be here. It's an honor to get the opportunity to present to you our use case of our first, let me first see if it works. Okay. Of our first AI advisor for the government. So it's basically an AI that has been hired officially to work as an advisor for the government in Romania. And I come from the private sector, as Alexandra mentioned, and we've been creating this and developing this together with the Romanian government. How it works is that, okay, we wanted to close the gap between citizens and government to be able to come up with policies that best serve their needs. We noticed that people have a voice once every 4 years when they vote, and that's when they have an impact. But what they do is that they express themselves all the time. They share online their worries, what they would like to change in the country, what are their issues. But it's difficult to connect the two. So they're very active online, but it's difficult for all this noise and all this data to get to the government. So what we've done, because society is so dynamic that it's very difficult to keep pace with it, we created an AI that helps gather all this data to fill the gap. Our AI is EON, which is a suite of AI solutions that we have developed, which works on multiple platforms. We have the physical robot, which is also here, which we have developed for physical interactions, events, educational purposes to show citizens what AI is, how it works, because as in many other countries, people are a bit afraid and worried about what's going to happen with this AI. Is it going to kill us, like we've seen in the previous presentations? So we're trying to, we thought about having a friendly interface for them to interact with, also analyzing what shape would be friendlier. Instead of a humanoid robot, we had a weird prototype maybe looking for some of you, but it's made out of mirrors because once citizens complain about what's not working well, we wanted them to have also a moment of introspection. So our large language model, what it does is it asks questions. It asks citizens questions. What would they improve in the country? What are their main concerns? And what are the solutions that they would provide? Because citizens tend to complain in general terms a lot. Nothing is going well, education system is not good, health system is not good, but we're trying to get them to get as specific as possible. What's not working? What have been your issues personally? And what do you suggest would be a good solution? So we do this with the physical robot, but of course that's not very practical because we don't get to go everywhere with it. We have attended numerous events, technology events, universities. We've even taken it to the subway station, which was a nice surprise for people traveling to work and everywhere to get to interact with it. But this has been mostly for educational purpose. The main functionality of the robot is online. So we have this yon.gov.ro website where they come and they're sharing their ideas, and also on social media, because we wanted to go where the people are, not have them go to a website, fill in an official form, and do all the boring part that maybe they're not that excited about. Also, what we wanted to do differently was to not have this AI model pre-trained. We asked citizens to proactively share their messages, and all the AI did was to be continuously trained through the messages that were proactively shared. Also, a very important thing that we took into consideration was that we didn't want to take any identity information from the citizens sharing their ideas and their messages. We really wanted to focus on the ideas and the context and the issues. And of course, by discussing here at the conference, we received many questions about how do we make sure that they are real users, they aren't bad actors. So we are trying to develop the solution to use AI to differentiate between a bad actor and a normal user behavior, but not limit the user interaction by asking for his ID or any other personal information. So it has been very well. All the events have been very well received. Also, what we've done differently is that we haven't put an age limit. So you don't have to be over 18 to interact with the robot. We believe that the future comes from the children and the teenagers that want to see maybe a better world. And they also can share their ideas of the future with the robot and talk to the government representatives and share their desires. I'm having some issues, but hopefully it works. Okay, so this is the shape. It's a mirror type shape. It's very conversational. It has a digital avatar. It's a simple shape that's mostly software. What we've seen since launch is that it has become a very useful citizen engagement tool. So we try to present it in a fun way to get citizens to not be so upset about how things work and to not have them not get involved. So a lot of people have now become very accustomed to Ion. He's a very popular character. We like to say that he's the most popular Romanian right now because everyone knows him, from the remote villages to my grandma to everyone. And it has become this habit of people tagging him on social media whenever there's a picture, a video of something going not well, or even a link of a news story. What we've done on the other side is, because we gather all this data and we do train the AI to analyze the context, we wanted to make it as friendly as possible for the government interface as well. So we have this live dashboard. This is basically how it works. And it is very conversational, aside from all the data, with the government representatives as well. So we want to make it easy for all public workers to interact with it, to ask different questions. So basically what you can do is interact in real time with 19 million citizens on different topics. What are Romanians saying about education, about the teacher strike, about any issue that is popular or important at the moment. And we can do this even specifically for each ministry. So for health, education, any type of topic. Okay, so I don't have much time, but it was very popular. We had very good results since the first week. It was very well covered nationally and internationally. We had weekly visits from journalists, even countries were discussing about implementing this as well. And in terms of interoperability, what we're doing right now is training the AI to work with APIs from state institutions to also be able to offer information in a friendly conversational way. Okay, this is it.
Very much, Mihaela. And because now we're entering the very hands-on, very robots-on, let's say, area, and very ChatGPT, AI, applied artificial intelligence together with interoperability, I would like to ask on the stage our next speaker, Claudia Barroso, who is the advisor to the Board of Directors at the Administrative Modernization Agency in Portugal. And she will tell us more about how they actually apply the very interesting ChatGPT to their data. Thank you.
Thank you. I have here my clock. Try to stick with the 5 minutes. So, to start with, some of you know what. Where should I point this? Because okay, I work at AMA. Basically, these are the 4 pillars of action for us. And we are the agency, the transversal agency for administrative modernization in Portugal. We are talking about automation of services, and we know that artificial intelligence has been here for a while now. I mean, in the 50s, we had already the neuronal networks with Rosenblatt, which was a psychologist, which for me, it's quite interesting when we think about it. But in fact, the first great innovations that we had started with interoperability. So these are some examples that the Portuguese government has launched. We had for a long time the automatic tax declaration. Also we have in the asset, this is actually, I stole the picture in the middle from a UN agency site. This was worldwide recognized and we received this award, a lot of Portuguese agencies involved. And this week we just launched the driving license renewal through our EID wallet. Also related to justice, we also launched based on AI to help entrepreneurs to start their companies, both in Portuguese and English. I could go on, fortunately, and these are some examples that also in other countries we have. But this was the challenge that Alexandra brought to me. So, okay, let's talk about AI for interoperability. And I sent a presentation, but I sent a second version because when I was on the plane, I thought, okay, so we are talking about generative AI. We always think about text because we have to provide to our citizens services. But I did this exercise. Let me check about one of the great advances that we had in AI, which was in the late 2000s, when AI started to gather really huge amounts of information from images. So I randomly chose this generative AI image tool, and I did this challenge. So I asked the tool to create I mean, this is the vision of all of us, right? This would be perfect. This would be really perfect. And this is the image the tool created. It's not that exciting, I'm so sorry. It really wasn't that exciting. Take your conclusions from it. But then I thought, okay, let me try to get something more interesting. And so I asked the tool, okay, but add public administration on it. Very similar, but a lot of complexity here, right? And there's something that I noticed. You will see that this part, it's pyramidal, and it started to I don't have time, but I took some conclusions, you know. And then I thought, okay, and now what about intelligence, artificial intelligence helping civil servants? it's foggy. I really don't understand. It's foggy. I think maybe it's telling us that you have to disclose your algorithms. You have to disclose the black box. And yeah, I'm almost done, but I was enjoying it a lot, you know. And then I thought, okay, now add interoperability. And there's this river flooding. So I think the message is quite potential, you know. I mean, interoperability took the fog away. So, and this is the final one, and I really wanted something different, so I said, okay, now create something completely different, but with the above guidelines. And this is what it did. At least we have no clouds anymore. At least we have a bright sky. Okay, now back to work. So, but one thing we know, that generative AI is here to stay. And in Portugal, we do have a track record of innovating in different ministries. And this is what, in our case, we are transversal. And we worked with our colleagues from other ministries to create. So our single digital gateway, which is portugal.gov.pt, had its first chatbot in 2019. I want to read it, but just let me highlight this one. I mean, ethics and responsibility, we've been talking about this for a long time, but we really wanted to test before invest, pilot, and be in the front line. And so we launched in May our first virtual assistant. So I won't read the details. I mean, its features, we believe it to be one of the first to be based on ChatGPT. Of course, we worked with a Portuguese startup. We worked with, we had Microsoft. This is based on Azure. These are its features. I don't have much more time, but I think the image thing really worked, and I wanted to share with you. I will highlight two things about this data, which is one of them, and we've been talking about this since yesterday. It's really important to choose the use case. And the use case that we chose was based on our digital mobile key. Why? Because it's a very mature system in Portugal, because we had very good information, and it's quite innovative. So this is a pilot, and we focused basically on our mobile ID. We did notice around 10% of increase, but we also had launched biometry a few months before, so let's not jump into conclusions, but still we have a good feedback, and our idea of the evolution is now starting to spread it to other services. Namely, we have been receiving a lot of immigrants, and we want to help immigrants and provide information to immigrants in more than 80 languages, and this is what we are working now. And finally, these challenges, I mean, we all know this. I just will highlight, I put this image because I know we have to go, we have to start working on this, we have to regulate the go-to-market with regulation and so on, but people must have a say. And sometimes we forget the public servants, but they are the ones that eventually can help us to choose the use case, and the ones that interact with citizens may be one of the best to let us know the use case and what AI can better, where AI can better help. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Claudia, and it's indeed very impressive to see this in action, and also of course, raises a lot of questions. We were wondering what the clouds were and what the black shadows, especially that. Finally, I will invite, because we have seen that the different applications can be possible to enhance public services using artificial intelligence and interoperability. But of course, as also Claudia was mentioning, in the end, there people who are working in the public administrations are the ones who are supporting the process, and they are the ones who propose what can be tested and retested and how things should be done properly. And that is why I would like to invite our last but definitely not least speaker, Gianluca Misuraka, who is the director of the Masters in AI for Gov, to talk to us about also the skills that that public servants must have in this context to deal with AI and interoperability together. Thank you, Gianluca.
Thank you, Alexandra. And yes, Frank talked about food, so, and we are, you know, as they say, I'm standing between you and the lunch, so I will try to be brief. And actually, I won't talk about my master, because actually we are already victim of our success. So, I won't talk about it directly, because we are already overbooked for the next 2 or 3 editions, so we are thinking what to do about that. But actually, in addition to be the director of this program, I'm first of all a futurist, and so last week I had the pleasure to address all member states at the expert group on public administration and governance, and one of my concluding slides I said, well, next steps will be to ask ChatGPT to tell us what he thinks about ChatGPT and how we can improve public sector. And that's what actually Claudia did. So, yesterday someone provocatively said that the only thing that in one of the workshops that Alexandra also organized, the only thing that generative AI cannot do yet is predicting the future, as actually we as humans also do. But the difference is that as humans we can also try to shape a better future if we see that things are going in the wrong direction. And in that sense, actually, let me congratulate also Alexandra and the team for the fantastic organization. And also, in fact, they managed to organize the flow of this presentation, so that for me basically is just to rope up on what has already been extraordinarily mentioned by the colleagues so far. Because in fact, and this is a summary in one slide of the key results of a study I've done in 2021 for the Digital Future Society, and where I looked at the perils and powers of AI for government. And that was when, in fact, we were starting the AI for Gov program, and I just left the Joint Research Center where I was leading the AI Watch for the public sector, where, in fact, now the colleagues are going up with a fantastic job, as this morning was mentioned. So, of course, there's a high potential. We all know there's a lot of opportunities. Of course, the asterisks and the obelisks that you mentioned before, they can just take the AI as the magic potion, and we all become powerful. But there are a lot of risks, and I think that the Deputy Minister emphasized very well the risk of discrimination by default, the black boxing effect. I mean, the fact that we are basically replicating and crystallizing the biases and the problems that we have in our societies that are highly discriminatory and not well functioning. Now, of course, there are many risks and examples that are coming to the front. Already Barbara mentioned the famous or unfamous Siri project, for example, the system Risiko Indikacije, and according to some of my PhD students that are going much more in depth in this, unfortunately, there are still problems in trying to optimize the systems to get better, let's say, fight off frauds. On the other side, actually discriminating people with from disadvantaged background. The GladSex model in Denmark also was very analyzing very much, but also fortunately was stopped before starting. And we don't have time to go into this. There's a lot of discussion as we speak right away for preparing for tomorrow trialogue. I guess everybody is talking about biometrics and facial recognitions. There are news that the parliamentarians want to ban predictive policing, let's say, solutions. So this is an issue that is being discussed as we speak, and there are other also problems that automating decision making and giving to the machine, let's say, the power to take decision for us based on data that are, as we said, they lack accuracy, they have very poor quality. Yeah, we can argue if 95, 97% accuracy is good enough, but as it was said, I mean, we have a lot of data that are not good quality, is really trash. You put it into the models that also sometimes are designed, let's say, in a not very sophisticated manner, and then you get out results that you know, you cannot really trust, let's say. And this happens especially in areas that are very sensitive, social services, education, employment policies, where in fact we are affecting as civil servants, as policymakers, the lives of citizens. Now, of course, how can we turn away from these dystopian futures? And this was somehow mentioned in all the presentations. So this was a recipe somehow pre-made of what you already said with the real cases. We cannot, I mean, we have to avoid thinking of AI as a super agent. Frank mentioned Robin. I mean, maybe it could be Batman. It's not enough to have a philosopher in the room, as I always say, even if it's a good one like Luciano Floridi, because you need to really think about the moral choices that you need to make about designing services and what public value you want to produce out of this system. So it's not just because you have a fantastic solution that you really solve the problems of society. There are complex issues that need to be addressed, and we have to embrace the complexity. We cannot just avoid it and simplify in abstraction way that, of course, is like eating under the carpet the dust. We have to be ready to handle disruption, because these things are actually disrupting government. We cannot just claim we will use technology and then not reorganize our systems. So we have to design new models of governance. We have to rethink the way we deliver the services, we manage the data, and actually we use this algorithmic decision-making power for the good of the citizens. So to conclude, as I like to say, and this is the cover of this publication, I mean, policymakers have dilemmas or even trilemmas, as we will see, because on one side they have to protect the citizens from, you know, the risks that this algorithmic governance could produce. But on the other side, I mean, we all want to use the good part of this technology that is a huge potential. And definitely, much of the debate is on the governance of artificial intelligence, if like making a law would solve all the problems. Of course, it's important. The regulations are fundamental. And in a month here, I'm also supporting the Spanish Presidency, I mean, with another hat, and the Commission in the conference leading trustworthy AI globally that will actually discuss, hopefully once the AI Act has been adopted, and this regulatory, let's say, effect that from Brussels we hopefully give worldwide. And on the other side, we have to consider that this comes on top of many other legislations and rules. But also, and this was mentioned by the colleagues, we have to govern with this technology, and there's a lot of discussion here because, of course, capacity, here indeed what we are experimenting with our program that is co-funded by the Commission, is implemented by the Universidad Politecnica di Madrid and Politecnico di Milano, with also other partner institutions from Germany and Estonia, for example, is really to put, let's say, in class, if you want, people with different background. Some are very good data scientists with technical skills, others are civil servants, policymakers, and then also from the, let's say, the lecturer side, we have also different mix of, let's say, experience. And then we put them working, playing with data. And so project-based learning that actually allows them to understand really what are the difficulties to managing the data, the challenges, and the potential. But then exactly talking about superheroes and super agents, clearly the good thing, but also the most dangerous consequences of using this technology, and especially large language models or you know, unsupervised, unstructured systems, is that we really somehow delegate to these technologies our decision making, our capacities. So unless we really manage to get you know, this technology to help us increase our cognitive and augmenting our human capacity, then we can really take the benefit of it. Otherwise, we risk to, you know, driving without knowing where we are going. Of course, if we manage to do all of this, it's like we find the Holy Grail. Or if we want to stick to the metaphor of Frank, being me Italian, we will have a fantastic meal and we can actually get the 3 stars of Michelin. So thanks a lot, and here you have some information.
Thank you very much. Gianluca. Because we are already over time, perhaps we can take very, very quickly one or two questions, but very short questions. Thank you, Gianluca, for also wrapping up and also showing what are the skills needed for public servants who are going to work with, who are working or are going to work with this kind of systems. And I think it would be interesting perhaps next year for the SEMIC 2024 that we already have news about, so we are already starting to prepare next year's conference. We could have people from the masters coming to share their experience from the public administrations implementing AI. That would be AI and interoperability, obviously. Okay, so maybe if one of them wants to share something, or if there are any questions. Please, I know I'm standing, like Gianluca already said, between to the lunch.
I actually have a question for the fraud detection algorithm by the Madrid tax office. I'm from the Netherlands, and the fraud detection, infamous fraud detection algorithm has already been mentioned twice because it was so biased and eventually led to the resignation of our government. And I was actually wondering how well Madrid is actually dealing with potential biases in the fraud detection algorithm, especially also in light of the AI Act coming up. Is that something you're already working on, or?
Yeah, well, it's true that we are working on bias, obviously, but let me say that right now, without artificial intelligence at all, there are a lot of bias. Mm-hmm. So this is the first step to understand that there is something that is happening, and after that, we are monitoring our algorithm. They has an input about what we are seeing, and we are working on that. But we are trying to put all those automated decisions step by step with a lot of care, because they can harm rights of citizens, and we want to do it very, very step by step. And in terms of bias, the problem might be the problem about data. If data is not correct, is not good, is not good related with other data, you can get bias everywhere. So, well, we are working on it. We don't have the key, but we are working on it.
Is it part of your monitoring process then? Is
sorry?
like fairness metrics, for example, part of your monitoring process, or? Yes,
but maybe they are not public yet. But we obviously when we are carrying out this project, and the first step is to stabilize metrics and indicators that can maybe alert us, warn us about what we are doing. And well, here there are people from Madrid Digital Agency, and we are working with them also in the transparency of algorithm. That it is very, very important in maybe in a registry of algorithm or something like that.
Cool, thank you.
Thank you very much. I think there is one more question, but then we will wrap up, and of course we'll have lunch upstairs, and you can talk to the speakers and share more of your questions there.
Thank you. Very short. The positive effect on anti-corruption, which was mentioned by Ukraine, whether this was also shown in the Romanian project, using machine instead of people.
Thank you.
Is it a question
for Romanian?
Okay.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Whether the effect of using machines instead of public servants, whether this was positive effect on the non-corruption. So.
Okay. So the main use case is about scalability. So one person working as an advisor to the government couldn't go through all the country to get all the opinions and issues at once, which we can do easily with technology. In terms of corruption, what we do is we do offer a platform where people from everywhere, even from institutions, can share their issues, their problems anonymously. So we get to have more insight into some of the issues that are then analyzed. Also, what we can do, what we are doing is, because we use technology, we're trying to make it as non-biased as possible, not have any filters in how it's reported. But that's about the extent that we're doing. Further actions on corruption are not in our scope.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And indeed, probably sometimes when we are in front of a system, it's easier to share things more candidly. So maybe that can also contribute to making administrations or governments, everything less biased or more prone to see reality as it is. And on this note, thank you very much for your participation. Thank you very much to all the speakers again. Great contributions, and thank you.